Hello, friends. Welcome back to another interview here on Love Wrestling. Spencer Love presenting another individual that not only is a great member of the professional wrestling community, someone I'm lucky to call a friend, but hell, just a great professional wrestler, the kind of people I love having on the show. Leo London, dude, it's good to see you, especially when things are back on the up and up as far as not just pro wrestling, but life itself seems to be for a lot of individuals above the 49th parallel. How are things, man? How have things been throughout, I guess, the past 14, 15 months? Have you managed to, for lack of a better way to put it, stay sane, get in a ring, do all of the things that make Leo London?
I did manage to stay sane. I picked up a new hobby in Warhammer 40K. It's a
You'll need to enlighten me a
tabletop.
little on that. Yeah.
It's a tabletop like war game. Think of like Dungeons and Dragons, but I don't know. There's less of a role playing aspect of it, and you're more just waging a war with like small models that you built and painted yourself. So it's like three
Cool.
hobbies in one.
I was gonna say it's like Risk meets Dungeons and Dragons meets like Battle Bots. It sounds like.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
we're going with. Cool to hear, man. Again, you're gonna need to fill me in a little bit on that end on the outside of the podcast because this is a pro wrestling podcast. The last things they need to hear me pick are the intricacies of robotics, but it's good to hear as far as the in-ring stuff and that goes. Like things are just starting to lighten up, I believe, in Winnipeg. But over the last 15 months or so, like, how's it been on the wrestling end? Has it been the ability to get back in the ring? Has it been like studying game tape, for lack of a better way to put it? Or how have you handled yourself on the pro wrestling side of things?
Well, for about a year and change, I didn't. There was no time in the ring. And because of that, I wasn't really watching wrestling either because it just made me sad that it was watching
Yeah.
something that I love to do and I can't. But slowly I started watching more and more. And then a fan actually bought me a online seminar for with Lance Storm.
Oh, rad.
Yeah, and that sort of like reinvigorated my passion to start watching tape again. And then like I still couldn't get in the ring just yet, but I finally have been able to most recently. But that was a real tipping point because I've heard about stuff like that happening for people where fans will, you know, take wrestlers out to dinner or like weird thing, like not necessarily weird, but like it would be weird for me because that doesn't happen.
Not weird, but out of the norm.
Yeah, exactly. So like when that happened, it blew my mind, and then it kind of washed away everything I was worried about. Like I was worried I would come back and like no one would care, or they would have forgotten about me, or like, you know, life goes on, out of sight, out of mind, things like that. But no, it showed that people definitely do care, and it showed that I can still get better, even though there's like I can't be in the ring physically at the time.
Yeah.
So that really was a tipping point. And now that I'm back in the ring and I have some bookings coming up in Alberta, I am very excited. So it's all come full circle now.
If you think you're excited, man, like the last time, and I believe it was about 3-4 years ago, even at this point, that you were last in Alberta, that was one of the only RCW shows that year that I ended up effing missing. So if you think you're excited to be back in Alberta, man, you got a Leo London fan over on this end of things that's real excited to have you back. But of course, not that you were here last time with the Gentlemen's Club, but lots of developments on the Gentlemen's Club end. And I know we've talked about it before, but there are perhaps some people who are maybe getting their first taste of Leo London on this end of things. So about the last year and a half, couple of years, if we're excluding the COVID times as the year, you were going through a pretty major angle with PCW. Of course, the Gentlemen's Club's been one of their foundational factions over the last little bit, but a bit of a schism, for lack of a better way to put it. I don't want to give away the farm for you. So maybe update a little bit on the in-ring side of Leo London's life as a professional wrestler, as PCW and Winnipeg Professional Wrestling and every other promotion running out of Manitoba starts to get a little bit back into it.
Well, after the major angle with like Alex Vanna concluded, and that concluded with Vanna not wrestling anymore. He just at least, everyone says they're done, but like, are they really?
That's exactly it. If Shawn Michaels is coming back 8 years later, I don't trust any retirement anymore.
Yeah, Terry Funk's had 47 already, so
I've got
we might.
tickets for his
Yeah.
56th next year, so hopefully the borders open up.
So he kind of like has stepped away, which did throw a wrench in the plan because it was supposed to come to a big head with us fighting each other. And well, that can't happen. So we had to change course, and we sort of started into an angle against Sweet and Tasty. That's Travis Cole and Big Bobby Shink. And that got kiboshed by the pandemic. But I was really excited because that would be the first, like, I've held the PCW championship, tag team championships before, but I've never held them as like an openly queer person.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be the first, like in PCW history, the first like openly queer champion. So I was really looking forward to that happening, assuming I won the match. And then of course, like that gets everyone, we have to pull everything and it sucks. But that's really where we were at the time. And fans were really looking forward to the Sweet and Tasty match. Like people would tweet at me like, the Gentlemen's Club in Sweet and Tasty is the Rockers versus the Midnight Express of Winnipeg. And I'm like, what?
That's some lofty comparison no matter where you are, right? That's got to be cool for you.
Yeah, like it felt really good. Like the only other time where I've gotten more praise for tag team work was from Danny Duggan, who said we wrestled somewhat like the Brainbusters. Even if he meant it as like you're kind of a shitty version of the Brainbusters, we're still like the Brainbusters. So like that's
we're a
all
shitty version of a really great tag team.
So that's still pretty good. So yeah, so we were really starting to pick up a lot of steam, like really finding our niche as a babyface tag team because we've been heels for so long. Mm-hmm. But after the turn, which was forced because of the entire angle with Alex Vanna, that forced us into a babyface position. It was never the plan. Mm-hmm. But Andrew just took what evolved naturally and let us go with it. And yeah, that's where we are now. We're waiting to get our opportunity at those tag team titles so I can be the first openly queer champion in PCW history. Then I want to try and become the first PCW champion, queer PCW champion in history. So that's still on the books, but it's hard for me because I don't want to break up the tag team. I want to do both.
Oh, yeah. And selfishly, I don't want you to break up the tag team. It's one that I very much enjoy watching. But, dude, it's so cool to hear you as proud of the run with the Gentlemen's Club. And, again, the representation angle that you guys have been running because, for lack of a better way to put it, Leo, like professional wrestling, and rightfully so in a lot of ways, doesn't have the best reputation as far as it goes with not only representation, mm-hmm. but the storylines they're involved with and the whole angle you've had with David and with Alex and the whole Gentlemen's Club breakup hasn't been your traditional tag team and faction breakup, but it's really had a lot of those LGBTQ plus aspects to it. So again, not to give away the farm to it, but maybe just run me through a little bit on that end of things and maybe what it means to you to have that, not just as something like you mentioned, to be the first queer PCW tag team champion and PCW tag team or PCW champion, in the future, but what it's meant to you to have that so heavily involved in the storyline itself.
Well, at first, it wasn't really the plan. We were going to take advantage of wrestling fans and wrestling in general's reputation of being negative towards queer people. And we thought this would get us a lot of heat. Like the fans would shit on us for like being queer or being gay and all that stuff. And when they did it,
you were heels right off the bat, right?
Yeah, we were definitely heels. And so we thought that they would hate it. And when they started to get a positive reaction, we asked Andrew, like, what should we do? Should we kill the angle because it's starting to get over as the babyface? And he's like, no, we're going to do something with it. So this thing that started as mainly as a rib between the three of us, we were just trying to pop ourselves when we were in the ring, just trying to do something so ridiculous that we would corpse the other person. like Alex Vanna was celebrating on his knees. He had put the belt on. So I got in front of him in a very homoerotic manner, like laid down and kissed the belt right where it was at his like crotch level. And I'm trying to get him to laugh. And he just puts his hand on the back of my head and tilts his head back. So like
you go one step and he goes another three.
Yeah. We thought that they would hate it. And when people started to realize that they aren't just a team, they're together, they started to buy into the angle. And then when Andrew proposed the idea of not a breakup of the team, but Alex Vanna like breaking up with
like a
us,
breakup. Yeah.
Yeah, it really changed the course of what we were going to do. It became a full-blown like queer positive angle, which allowed me to come out personally, because I wouldn't say I was ever like in the closet as a queer person. I just don't think that it ever like mattered to me to say anything, because I wouldn't have thought that anybody cared, because I don't believe I'm a person of consequence. Like I didn't think that me coming out would matter to anybody. But after talking to some like queer friends of mine, like most in particular Darnell, he told me that like it's very important for queer people to see queer characters played by queer people. So when I came forward and said like, yeah, this is who I am, and this is like a queer person playing a queer character in a queer angle, it suddenly became something else completely, and it had a whole nother weight and message behind it. And when he broke up with us and the entire crowd deafened me with asshole chants to the point where he's on the microphone standing in front of us, my brother says, "We loved you. Why would you do this?" And he goes, "I know you loved me. I never, ever loved you." And the crowd drowned him out to the point where we couldn't hear what he said to follow up. I was like, oh my God, we really like,
you got
we
something
really
going.
got somebody, and we really got something here. And it was so organic and built up from something we didn't intend to be what it was. We didn't intend to send that message of acceptance. But I'm so happy we did. And I'm so grateful for Andrew and PCW for letting us do it. And then everywhere else we've performed, no one has ever said anything negative about it, and are all very encouraging and positive. And then I got to embrace my like emo side. Because
dude, that's one of my favorite entrances I've ever seen. Oh, sorry to spoil it. I've said the whole time I'm not giving away the farm, so sorry. What am I? You talk.
So the other aspect is we were a team of jocks, which made the whole queer thing like even weirder, because being jocks is, you would think, hyper masculine, sports team, douchebags, jerks. So yeah, that's really why we thought we would get heat. So when he broke up with us, I was like, well, how could we change our characters to show that the breakup affected us? We changed our gear. We changed our music to be My Chemical Romance. And then we came out with the face paint and all that stuff. It's like, so we were jocks, and then our boyfriend breaks up with us, and then we become sad emo kids.
Yeah.
And it went over great. And I'm just so proud of that angle. It's probably the thing I'm most proud about, because it allowed me to come out. It's representation, and it's definitely something that, you don't see every day in a wrestling promotion.
Absolutely, man. And there's so much I want to dig into it as far as it goes. But the biggest question I wanted to ask you, and again, like, I'm very lucky it's not my experience, and I say that as a white cis dude, but a lot of the professional wrestling fans and professional wrestlers and people involved with the industries are people like you talk about that are very queer positive and very accepting of the LGBTQ plus community and all of that. But the professional wrestling industry as a whole, again, maybe doesn't have the best representation or best reputation as far as that goes. Yeah. So when the fans are getting that excited and when they're getting that invested, and I know you dug into it as a heel first and you turn babyface naturally, like, is there a point to you where you start to realize, like, holy shit, maybe pro wrestling fans aren't that stereotype, or maybe this is really affecting people? Or for lack of a better way to put it, Leo, was there a light bulb moment during the angle where it resonated with you?
It was definitely there, like sort of building up gradually over time. But at the point of not the breakup, the show before where Alex Vanna has like snapped and he's like beating up Bobby Shank with a chain or something. And then me and David come in to stop him and he pushes me and the crowd goes completely silent because they're like, whoa, something's happening. And when I realized like, oh, they're that invested that they're going to go, they go from booing and stuff like Vanna to just dead silence, waiting to see what happens. I was like, we've really got something and we really like touched people in an emotional way. And that's the whole point of wrestling. Like not banging out 5-star matches is awesome, but if they're not emotionally invested in those matches, then you're just doing a bunch of moves.
You might as well go watch any wrestling, amateur, professional, or otherwise show at that point, right?
Yeah, like, so it blew me. That was it. Like when he shoved me down and I'm sitting on the ground and it goes quiet, I was like, oh my God, we really got him. This really means something to them. And then it made it mean even more to me. And then with the breakup, of course, it just escalated from there.
Yeah. On the independent level too, and I know I'm asking a lot of different versions, I suppose, of the same question, but like on the indie level, it's really just starting, and maybe it's just me being lucky enough to expose myself to it more, but you're really just starting to see a lot of that representation, right? At least the WWE and All Elite, like you get that television time, you get that representation because they're so, not in a bad way, but in your face with it. But how important is that on the independent level? And having people like Andrew who are taking what, again, might be a not so popular stance sometimes among pro wrestling fans.
I think it's really important on every level. The more comfortable people can be being themselves, the more beautiful a place the world becomes, right? So the more people who can, yeah, it's actually from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Andy Samberg and Captain Holt, they've all got some good shit, man. You can take
Captain
inspiration from comedy.
Yeah. He said that to Rosa Diaz when she came out. That's a great show for representation, by the way. But yeah, the only problem I ever had was one person. I've had one negative experience amongst all the positive ones. Like Andrew was the first, my booker, who of course, like your home promotion, if they don't want to book you anymore because you come out as queer, like that's a big issue, right? But he was the first person to contact me and say, if you have a problem, you let me know and I will beat the shit out of them. And you wouldn't doubt in your mind that Andrew could do it. But
I was going to say, only of ever seeing like Facebook and Twitter photos, I don't doubt it.
Yeah. There was only one time where someone had cornered me. So they cornered me I just think we're going to talk about something. Like, I don't even know. I haven't seen this guy in forever. So it's like, oh, he just wants to talk. So he pulls me aside and kind of corners me by myself. And then he has one of his goons guarding the door. And that's the first time anyone has ever like berated me about anything. At first it was about intergender matches for some reason, for me saying that like intergender wrestling is a legitimate form of entertainment or like something like that. Because he had a real problem with intergender. That's all I remember. And then he drops the F-bomb on me, like the slur.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what to do because I have to fight two guys, assuming I have to fight this guy. And they're both much bigger than me. But around the corner comes Papa Bear, Adam Knight. And immediately, the guy that was guarding the door, gone. Like a ghost.
Dude, as someone I've never had any interaction with, like Adam Knight seems like the kind of dude that myself in Alberta, if that was ever to happen to me, if I like flashed the proverbial bat signal, Adam Knight would be there. You know what I mean? He just seems like a good human being.
Yeah, absolutely. He's kind of like a Papa Bear to a lot of the younger guys that were coming up under his wing.
Yeah.
And when he sees what's happening, he looks at the guy and goes, "Are we going to do this? Because I'll do this right now if you want, like right here." Like, I don't care.
And we don't need to go outside. We're in a school gymnasium.
Then the guy like quickly changed his tune, and I never bumped into that guy again. So yeah, that was an experience. but other than that, it was incredibly positive after I went public. And yeah, I never had any problems aside from that one interaction. And to be let in, not let into the queer community, and then have everyone else outside of it still treat me the same. I've kind of got the best of both worlds going on right now. So it was a really just all around great time in my life.
That's wonderful to hear. Like, actually wonderful to hear. And like, as cheesy as it sounds, I'm certainly apt for cheesiness, but like it makes my heart warm because like you watch the progression of it, whether it's the independent level or whether it's the professional level, seems like such a bad way to put it, but the major level, I suppose. It's nice to see that it seems like it's getting better elsewhere. But for you, what would be, I guess, the next steps? Is it as simple, and again using the air quotes with it, is having it not be a thing that someone is their first queer champion, or is it something major? Is it as, I don't know, I'm spitballing here, and you're certainly someone who's got a better idea of it than I do, so I'll let you put it in your words rather than me trying to feed some.
Well, I think the next step in where we are going is that like a person never needs to like come out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we need to get, I believe, and this is just my opinion, of course, that we need to get to a point in our society and in the world where someone comes out and says, you know what, guys, I'm gay. And just nobody cares. Like, they just, okay. And then that's it, because it shouldn't be a big deal. A person shouldn't have to feel like there's this huge pressure on them being relieved when they do come out. It should just be no big thing. Like, you know, we're all people and it should be that simple. But unfortunately, it's not. And that's not the real world that we live in. It is a big deal when somebody comes forward. There is that pressure being relieved. And I think what's next is us losing that pressure. So that person, when anybody does come forward, it's just another day of the week and it's just no big thing.
Yeah, it's just like, I guess the and it might be an ineloquent comparison, but it's the picture of someone in People magazine with their lover rather than getting the cover first and then a photo in People magazine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's always great to hear that, man. And I always love the insight, especially as, again, like a white cis dude with no experience with stuff. One of the conversations I've been having, or one of the sentences I've thrown out there most often is, this is a month, as most months should be, for us to just shut up and listen sometimes. So again, thank you on that end of things, man. And it's always great to pick your brain on that end. And it's always nice to be able to promote the fact that I am hopefully going to see you here in Alberta sooner rather than later. Now, I know nothing's been announced, and I don't want to steal any announcements or promotional pieces of material from anybody, but you're starting to book some dates. I'm excited to hear that. So for whatever you can let these folks behind the curtain for, feel free to, because I'm excited.
Okay, so I'm coming back to Real Canadian Wrestling. It'll be, as of right now, it is my return to wrestling. I have offers and stuff from other promotions, but right now, like, things happen. I'm being very selective. Being very selective and very careful about, the situation. So right now, it's going to be my return to wrestling on August 13th and 14th. On the 13th, I'm wrestling Mr. Nasty.
Nate
in
Nixon. The best possible of ways, but
for the RCW Commonwealth Championship. And then the next day, Dylan Stone, who you were
getting a dichotomy, man. Like, when I say like Nasty Nate Nixon is one of those individuals that's like, the professional wrestling word that I love using for guys like him is dastardly, because I think it fits in so well for a guy like that. And Dylan Stone is like the opposite of dastardly. And both of them are going to be great matches.
Yeah, I really hope so. Like, me and Dylan Stone have been chomping at the bit to work with one another. We got to work in a tag match with about 2 minutes preparation time. And what we did was fire. Like, we just get each other's movements and language, and we like speak the same wrestling language. So he got my technical stuff without me having to go over with it multiple times. Immediately,
Yeah.
I got everything he wanted to do, and it's just great. Now we're going to have, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes to put together like a full match. I hope it's not 20. It's only my second match back.
I was gonna say, it's been a while. Give me the 10 to 12 minute.
And I really hope it lives up to the expectations I have in my mind. So yeah, I'm very excited. And hopefully PCW's and return is on the horizon, because Winnipeg is starting to get itself worked out. So hopefully very soon I have a lot more dates coming up. But right now, those are the two I can talk about.
Well, and like I said, I'm never the guy to pull the curtain back entirely, because I want professional wrestling promotions and the professional wrestlers behind them to get the pop, as professional wrestling fans like to say. But I'm always happy to have you back on. I was going through the archives today, and it's nice to say it's always great to chat with the most appeared guest on any show I've ever done. This is number 5. We filled up a hand, man. Good on you and I. And the nice thing is that we're 2 months away, as of the time of this recording, from having you and I sit down one-on-one and have the first face-to-face Leo London Spencer Love interview. I can't wait, man. Just like I can't wait to the next time and the next time and the next time after that I have you on, because it is always great to chat with you. But of course, I love leaving the last segment of the show for my guests to plug their social media. You're always a guy I enjoy chatting with on professional wrestling and otherwise, like I said, on social media. So if people want to follow you on Twitter, give a like to your Instagram stuff. If you're still on Nexopia, feel free to plug it. You'll be the first to do it, but I'm excited to hear it if you do. But here's the spot to plug your stuff, Fred. Where can people find you?
It is at Leo London PCW, and that is on, or no, Leo London 23 on Twitter and Instagram. And I do have a Facebook page that's specifically my wrestling life, but it's been relatively inactive for the last year and change, because I just don't have anything to talk about. Mm-hmm. But that's going to change coming up, as all my promos, all my new pictures, match videos, all that stuff is going to be really go through there. That's my central hub of sending people to really see what I'm all about in one place. You can check out my matches with Kenny, Hikaru Shida, Colt Cabana, Steve Corino, other people. They're all there.
The who's who of professional wrestling. And I've been going through, and we haven't gotten them up yet because admittedly sometimes the shoot job gets in the way, but we've got the archives coming up on Love Wrestling. So if you want to hear more from Leo London, whether it was the times we chatted for the WCSN, if you want to watch any of his matches or anything in between, those will all be in the links below, because trust me, friends, and I know I'm biased in saying it, but if you want to check out not only a great Canadian professional wrestler, but a great human being, someone I've always enjoyed chatting with. Again, I know I'm cliche here, professional wrestling or otherwise, Leo London is an individual that I would recommend pretty well, first and foremost, as far as that goes. And I think that by this conversation, you guys can tell why. It's pretty easy to tell that Leo London's a great human. So if you've got the opportunity to come and see him live and in the flesh in August here in Alberta, do it. I'll see you there. First round's on me. And if you guys are in Winnipeg or otherwise, you're lucky enough to have PCW or any of the places that Leo is booked. But once again, friends, thank you for tuning into another interview here on Love Wrestling with another great individual. I've been Spencer Love. I'll catch you on the next one.